Hello, everybody. Hope you're having a wonderful day today. My name is Steve. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel. Today, I'm joined by my wife, Lindsay, again, and we're going to be reacting to the Irish potato famine. This will be the first time Lindsay's ever learned anything about this. Unfortunately, they do not teach about the potato famine in American schools, at least when I was in school.
When I was in school, the only thing I learned was about the potato blight is what caused the famine.
You did learn something
I
about
learned
it.
a tiny bit, not much. Just that it was
Okay.
like a disease of potatoes, and
Interesting.
that's all I was.
When I was in school, I don't recall them teaching anything about this. Granted, I will say perhaps I wasn't paying attention at the time. I really wasn't into history at the time. And so it wouldn't surprise me if maybe I skipped school during the day or whatever, but history wasn't my thing at that time. So maybe they taught a little bit, but I don't remember learning anything about
What
that
I
in school.
learned was literally a paragraph
Right.
in our textbook. It wasn't much.
Right. But, I learned about this, it's been a year or maybe more ago. And, now that Lindsay's coming in on the channel with me, I felt like this would be a really good thing for her to learn as she starts learning anything about Ireland, because, it's such a massive, massive piece of history in Ireland. I mean, it changed everything about Ireland. I mean, in fact, so many people with Irish ancestry that now live in America, they came to America, or their ancestors came to America because of the potato famine. And so, as you're going to see in this video, it's really going to be a huge eye opener for you. It was for me, and it's just a very horrible, horrible thing that happened to the Irish people. And, it's just unfortunate that even if you were taught a little bit about the potato blight and stuff in school, it's absolutely horrible that they don't teach
The reason?
Yeah, they don't teach how massive the famine was. They don't teach, the details surrounding it and whatnot. Right. And I think a lot of people, if they were to watch a video like this, they would be very surprised to learn what happened and what the main reason was for the famine in the first place. Sure, it was a potato blight that caused the death of so much of the potato crop.
But what caused that?
But it's so much more to it that you'll discover here.
This is a story about Ireland, and it's a story about an event that you've probably heard of, but might not know much about. It's usually called the Irish potato famine. In most history books, the Irish potato famine doesn't get a lot of attention. At most, it appears as a pretty simple story to explain Irish migration abroad. In the beginning, Irish people depended on the potato for food. Then there was a potato disease. Many Irish died, and others migrated abroad on what they called coffin ships to England, Scotland, Australia, and North America. But the story of the famine is a lot more complicated and a lot more disturbing than that. It was much less natural and much more artificial than you might think, and it all goes back to a man named Thomas Malthus. Malthus was a British economist, and in 1798, Malthus put forward an influential idea and a rather counterintuitive one. Malthus said that when food production increased, people were better off for a little. But that improvement led to an increase in population, which eventually caused societal problems. There were too many people and not enough food to go around. Poverty and famine were the natural results. Like animals, Malthus said, humans had a certain carrying capacity. When it exceeded that carrying capacity, enough people would die to return the population to a natural equilibrium. So in the 19th century, that so-called Malthusian model became the conventional wisdom in European intellectuals. It led them to focus on what they called overpopulation and made them think of famine as nature reducing population to a sustainable level. No serious economist today will tell you that having too many people is the reason people are poor or hungry. In 1981, the economist Amartya Sen explained the real cause of most historical famines. If you look at the historical record, Sen said, a collective lack of food is never the real problem.
I personally think famines generally happen because the food resources are kept in relatively few hands. Like just today, for example, now it's completely different back in past times, but today, when you go to Walmart, you look back at the dumpsters back there, you know how much food they just toss out every year? I mean, we're talking millions upon millions of pounds of food.
Yeah.
And so, like, all those starving people around the world.
Yeah, it's pretty gross.
Yeah, it's gross how much food is wasted. And people say, oh, we don't have enough food in the world. No, we have plenty of food in the world.
Food isn't the problem. It's the distribution of the food.
Exactly.
And who's controlling it.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think even back, you go back to the 1800s, you're going to discover the same thing. There's plenty of food. It's just that it wasn't distributed as needed. And
right.
Well, I'll let this continue.
Also, I think people in positions of power, like the Malthusian guy, a lot of times have more nefarious agendas.
They have a God complex.
Population control,
Yeah.
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 The cause of famines, while it often has something to do with a decline in agricultural production, is more related to the unequal distribution of food. There's enough food for everyone, but some people can't exchange what they have for that food. Sen found that famine is usually not the result of too little food, but of exploitation and unequal economic relations.
Amen.
Irish people were the other, against whom the British could define themselves. They were viewed as lazy, barbaric, barely human. Ireland itself was run as a colony for the emerging class of British capitalists. While England was rapidly becoming the wealthiest country in the world, Ireland was kept incredibly poor. The population was almost entirely composed of peasants. The large majority of all houses were huts made of mud. And the land those peasants lived on was owned almost entirely by absentee English landlords who never visited Ireland and extracted exorbitant amounts in rent. Even the British government regarded these landlords with disdain, calling them, quote, the most oppressive species of tyrant that has ever lent assistance to the destruction of a country.
Sounds like
so
it.
Most Irish people were on a treadmill of extreme poverty.
Oh man, I'm already tearing up. Man. It's like
I'm trying to
it's just
pull back the emotions. Things like that really irritate me, and
yeah, me too.
Yeah.
They were the most destitute people in all of Europe. In many districts, one government report found, their only food is the potato, their only beverage, water, a bed or a blanket is a rare luxury. And that part about the potato is especially important. Ireland has a lot of fertile soil and a topography that is ideal for grazing cattle. But when the British came in and colonized Ireland, they systematically took that land and used it to produce beef for the domestic English market.
So they went and used Ireland's land to get food for themselves.
So on the Irish soil there was plenty of cattle being grown,
but they couldn't
raised,
have it.
But it wasn't there. Yeah,
Right.
Basically the cattle was grown there, but it was shipped back over the sea.
That's effed up. Like really messed up.
And so the Irish became extremely reliable on the potato, which originally wasn't even a native crop. It was actually from South America.
Really?
Yeah, and people think
we associate potatoes with Ireland.
But when I don't know, I can't remember what year the potato was introduced there, but if you go back 1,000 years ago, their potato wasn't there. 1,000 years ago, the potato got introduced sometime in the last. I don't know. Someone in the comments might be able to tell me exactly when that was, but at some point the potato was brought. The land is so fertile, was great for growing potatoes, but just like any crop, when you become over reliant on it, which well, anyway, I don't want to give away too many details about this.
I always forget to bring Kleenex up here until it's too late.
And so the economically poor Irish turned to the potato, a versatile crop that could be grown in large numbers on bad soil. And while the potato was adaptable, it was also really unreliable. There had been widespread potato failures pretty much every other year in the 19th century. And in the 1840s, a new potato disease, originally from North America, arrived in Europe. Huge potato crop failures sprung up in northern France, in Belgium, and in the Netherlands. But none of those places were as dependent on the potato as a source of food as was Ireland.
That's something that when I had previously done a video about the potato famine. Brief learning a little bit because I knew nothing about it when I first started, right? And so I looked at that, and I came to this video after that, because I wanted more detail about it. But up until here, I had no clue that I'd always since I'd heard the potato famine, I had just assumed that potato famine was strictly an Irish thing, but it wasn't. It was all around the surrounding area. But they weren't reliant on the potato.
Yeah, my question is, how did it come from North America to Ireland?
I have no idea. I don't know. I'm guessing somehow shipping, of something, just brought it there. I really don't know. Maybe someone in the comments can let us know how the potato blight actually got to Europe in the first place.
So when the disease got to Ireland in the 1840s, the results were devastating. In 1845, about a third of the Irish crop was destroyed. By 1846, 75% of it was gone.
Oh my goodness.
Hunger spread rapidly with unprecedented severity. This period became known in Ireland as An Drachil, the bad life. But as Amartya Sen observed, this wasn't just about a pure lack of food. In fact, during the entire period of the famine, Ireland was continuing to export food out of the country. Enough cows, sheep, pigs, and grain were being shipped out of Ireland that could feed the Irish population twice over. But the British government refused to do anything about it. Soon, the Irish began begging their British overlords for relief. And early on, the Conservative Party government, then the representatives of the old British aristocracy, had a fairly sympathetic response. They bought food from America and brought it to Ireland, distributing it to the poor. But in 1846, a different party, the Whigs, came to power in Britain. And the Whigs did not have the sort of aristocratic paternalism that the Conservatives had. They were advocates of a philosophy called laissez-faire, the idea that the free market, left alone, would solve virtually any problem. So the person they put in charge of famine relief in Ireland was a man named Charles Trevelyan.
Evil.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Trevelyan had been a colonial administrator in India, and he was a big believer in those Malthusian ideas about population. He didn't really want to stop the starvation. He thought it was, necessary. The famine, Trevelyan said, was, quote, an effective mechanism for reducing surplus population. He said it was the judgment of God that sent the famine to teach the Irish a lesson.
Gross.
The real evil, he said, is not the physical evil of the famine, but the moral evil of the selfish, perverse, and turbulent character of the Irish people. So Trevelyan's solution to the famine was to let it ride.
Everything I want to say right now would have to be censored, so I'm just not going to say anything.
That is the exact reaction I had when I first saw this. I don't remember everything. Didn't remember everything about this video, but I remember right when I saw that, I was just like the things I wanted to say. I knew I shouldn't say.
Yeah.
Because it's just disgusting piece of filth, man. Anybody would think like that.
And granted, that's one man, but clearly nobody stopped him. People went along with it, so.
Well,
The laissez-faire Whigs decided to change nothing. They refused to stop the movement of food to England and limited the amount of food they offered to the starving Irish people. The food that was being imported into Ireland was largely used not to feed the Irish, but to feed the cattle being slaughtered for British consumption.
That's
Even when they
disgusting.
did offer some relief to the Irish peasants, they instituted moralistic tests, requiring that recipients live as indentured servants in a workhouse to improve their work ethic. The British even required that food only go to people who owned almost no land, forcing impoverished farmers to sell all the remaining land they had to their landlords,
That is so
many of
messed
whom
up.
lived in Britain. And so, the famine only got worse. Diseases of hunger like typhus, dysentery, and cholera spread wildly, killing just as many people as the lack of food. Social structures broke down. Ordinary people turned en masse to begging, crime, prostitution. In Western Ireland, some resorted to cannibalism.
Oh my gosh.
The British, fearing a rebellion, sent army troops instead of food. As the news of the famine spread all over the world, shiploads of food finally began arriving. Americans from all strata generously sent money and food over the Atlantic, only to have their donations met with huge British cargo fees upon arrival. Even the Choctaw people donated to the famine relief funds, just a few years after they had experienced starvation themselves on the Trail of Tears. It was a beautiful example of international solidarity. But these donations weren't enough to stop the ruthless exploitation by British landlords. Even when enough food was being imported, it wasn't getting to the Irish people. Starvation and death continued. Impoverished.
Sadly, I feel like that still happens. Like
What?
a lot of these charities and organizations, I feel like when people want to help in times of crisis, I feel like still we have the problem of resources not getting to the people that they're intended for.
Yeah, so that's what's one of the biggest problems with charities, that they have these, they take this money and they have these administrative fees and all this stuff they gotta, so much of the resources don't get anywhere. And it's just like, it disgusts me still today that, like, for example, there's people all around the world that don't have access to clean water. I mean, like, do you know, like, how
easy it would be to solve that problem if everyone pooled their resources? It wouldn't take much.
It really wouldn't take much. I mean, it's the same way with, I don't know. I don't want to get into it, but it's just,
we're taking away from the subject at hand, but
Irish, with barely enough to eat, were evicted from their homes. One priest remembers the scene of a mass eviction. 700 human beings were driven from their homes in one day and sent adrift on the world to gratify the caprice of one who, before God and man, probably deserved less consideration than the last and the least of them. The horrid scenes I had then witnessed, I must remember all my life long. The wailing of women, the screams, the terror, the consternation of children, the speechless agony of honest, industrious men, wrung tears of grief from all who saw them. By the time the famine began to end in the early 1850s, about 20% of the Irish population, 2 million human beings, had died of disease or hunger. Another 2 million had left for brighter shores. Today, Ireland's population is still lower than it was in the 1840s.
Are you serious?
But Ireland has never forgotten the famine and the generosity that some showed to them. During COVID, when the people of the Navajo Nation were hit hard, Ireland repaid their kindness shown to them during the famine by raising $2 million. And Ireland has never forgotten those who did not help them, the British government, and all those who valued profits over humanity. As the British historian A.J.P. Taylor would later write, the English governing class had the blood of 2 million Irish people on their hands. all Ireland was a Belsen. I'm Rory Duffy, professor of history and filmmaker for the Gravel Institute.
That's awful. I mean, there's not much else to say about it.
Oh,
It's just really sad
Man.
that we're not taught that, you know.
yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, I don't. How can we not be taught that? It's so disgusting. It's such a disgusting piece of history. Now, I think that it needs to be said that these weren't just your regular British citizens
No,
that had
no.
in any way contributed to this.
Right.
It was the
government.
ruling class. It was the government and the ruling class.
Right.
And so it's just, I mean, that still happens the world over in different areas today. You know, the governments of different countries and the ruling class always at some point do this type of thing to people. They look down on people that are a little bit different than them, or not the same country or whatever.
Yeah.
But I was trying not to tear up again. But it's just so sad. I mean, like, because that didn't have to happen.
I just can't believe that their population in Ireland is still lower than it was.
That was the first video I watched on this, was why the population of Ireland is lower now than it was in the 1840s or something like that. And it's insane. I think it was. Did it say?
It showed.
I noticed
sort of
where the chart was right there. Yeah, it was approaching 7 million-ish people.
6.5. Yeah.
And I mean, look at this. I mean, you're talking less than 3 million people in the 1960s.
Yeah.
I mean, and like now, I think now, is it at 5 million people or so now? I don't know.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a little higher than it is here, I believe.
It's getting there.
Yeah, I believe it might even be, it might be 5-6 million. I don't know. But yeah, obviously that's insane. Because can you imagine, like, you look at anywhere else, pretty much, you look at the US, you look at anywhere else in the UK, England. I haven't looked at Wales or the Scottish population in that period of time, but I'm guessing that is still going up as well. How could it not? If nothing is,
Right.
This is just a dramatic 4 million people either died or had to leave out of like less than 7 million. It's just insane. But what do you say? It's just it's the type of thing that everybody needs to know. They need to learn this in school. And
The darkness
there's
of humanity.
there's enough Irish people with Irish ancestry in this country that is something that should be taught. You know what I mean? But yeah. Anyway, do you have anything else you want to say?
No.
Right. Well, thank you so much for stopping by, guys. Please click that like button. Feel free to drop your comments or suggestions about this video or others. And don't forget to subscribe to continue to follow us on our journey to discover our British and Irish ancestry. Till next time, guys.
Bye.
Peace.